all things considered, there are in fact dumber studios in Hollywood than Disney, but I don't think, especially with this recent string of revelations, you could possibly argue that there is a more wasteful company. Like we've discussed the fiduciary extravagance over there at Lucasfilm, going through the different movies now that we have all of the tax credits come out of the UK as well as the television shows. And yeah, 700 million plus for Andor. Well, you got a lot of content and a lot of it was high quality. You can't really justify that at all whatsoever. And you take a look at, the Rise of Skywalker. Still, even in light of this recent news, is the most expensive film that Disney has financed to this day. It's probably not going to retain that crown for much longer, but all in due time we shall discuss that. But something that really shouldn't have cost as much as it did is definitely the king of the box office from last year, Deadpool and Wolverine, because, well, let's keep it a buck, man. You filmed a lot of that on the volume. Okay, yeah, you had two big actors attached to the project, and when you were floating around that same old tired number of $200 million budget, everybody kind of knew that, that's probably not terribly accurate because everything that comes out of Disney with a certain degree of reliability gets labeled with the 200 or on and around 10% of that. So yeah, 180 all the way up to about 2.25. That's normally where your budget sits for every type of film that's out there, whether it's Marvel, whether it's Lucasfilm, whether it's in-house at Disney or Pixar. It really doesn't much matter. It's all $200 million. And the shills and the suck-offs will run with that the moment that it crosses that threshold at the box office. Oh, look at that. Oh, all of you idiots saying that this is a bad movie. Oh, well, it made back its money, so that makes it good, I guess. Whatever. And beyond a shadow of a doubt, like Deadpool and Wolverine made $1.3 billion at the box office. So I don't think that there is a soul walking this earth that would say that that was a bomb by any stretch of the imagination. Number one at the box office for 2024. But now that we're getting the tax receipts and we're seeing exactly how much money Disney spent on this project, it really does start to come into focus just how irresponsible Disney is and how they could possibly fail to turn a massive profit on a $1 billion box office and in fact snatch defeat from the jaws of victory and only turn a nominal boon. So yes, did Deadpool and Wolverine actually lose money? Not quite, but it's a lot closer than anybody could have comprehended. Yes, a staggering cost of Marvel film reveal. So yes, new reporting from Christian Slitt and Caroline Reed at the London Standard has unearthed the true cost of Deadpool and Wolverine, a figure so massive it reshapes how we interpret film's financial success. Yes, exactly. Despite the movie crossing $1.3 billion at the global box office last year, Disney's own UK production filings reveal that the studio may have walked away with far less profit than anyone would have expected and possibly brushed right up against break even, which is so fucking wild. $1.3 billion at the box office, and you might have made a couple of bucks. Okay, like I said before, it makes no sense whatsoever. This isn't like, even in the pantheon of Marvel movies recently, it really wasn't that intensive. It really shouldn't have been in regards to cost. Like the CGI, it's going to have your standard level of Marvel CGI, but were you running around in entire locations like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania? Did it have flumpy visuals like Multiverse of Madness? Again, you had two big stars, big in the context of Marvel films, I suppose, but then a bunch of cameos that really shouldn't have commanded that much money. Like, I'm pretty sure you probably could have lured Wesley Snipes on set with the promise of two blonde-haired, blue-eyed 25-year-olds, and I don't think Jennifer Garner's doing all that much recently. And yeah, Chris Evans was probably a part of his Captain America deal to come in real quick for a cameo. So it's like, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. But yes, according to Slitt and Reed's findings, the film's UK subsidiary recorded 418.1 million pounds, not dollars, pounds in production spending, approximately 547.7 million US dollars, more than $500 million. Holy fuck. Before global marketing was even factored in. Over $500 million on the production budget alone. What the fuck? That number pushes Deadpool and Wolverine into the ranks of the most expensive productions in cinematic history. After accounting for the £82 million, about $107 million USD, yes, that you got in the UK tax rebates, Disney's net production spend clocks in at £336.1 million, or 300, no, you'd have to adjust that. That is clearly a typo, so yes, north of $400 million. Absolutely wild, man. But yes, okay, so if you can cast your minds back to last year, if you recall, like, this marketing push was enormous because it was by a fairly large margin the most marketed film of the year. Now that I remember, okay, I've been misspeaking a little bit because Inside Out 2, another Disney joint, actually won at the box office, and, well, we haven't seen the tax returns on that one yet, and this would be even more shocking if Inside Out 2, with all of its color corrections and getting rid of the gay shit, according to insiders at Pixar, if that ended up running anywhere close to what Deadpool and Wolverine did. But yes, this had a huge marketing push, so how much can we theorize was the spend on top of this enormous production budget? So yes, Disney never publicly discloses its global marketing budgets, and even when other companies do, hey, James Gunn, Warner Brothers, and Superman, they're never honest about that. But historical benchmarks from Marvel tentpoles land in these ranges of $100 million, a conservative global campaign. I would knock that off the list right then and there. $150 million for a standard blockbuster campaign. That's probably closer-ish, and then $200 million for the aggressive worldwide rollout. Why I think that 150 is somewhere close, I would imagine it's somewhere between 150 and 200 million. It's because it's Deadpool. It's the return of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. The entire movie was pitched as just a mere cameo fest. So yeah, did they have to go above and beyond for the marketing? Well, the way that it was pushed out there, I wouldn't be surprised. And you know what? Hey, now I'm kind of talking myself into thinking that this is probably north of $200 million, because even though this was going to be a surefire hit, we've seen how Disney likes to spend. So yeah, okay. But yes, just simply crunching the numbers here, even the conservative scenario pushes overall spending past $436 million, while realistic industry estimates bring the total closer to $486 to $536 million in combined costs. And that's before back-end deals, distribution costs, interest, or delayed production overhead get involved. Yeah, but what about how much merch it sold? What about VOD? Oh my God, this year has just provided some really, really stupid excuses for how poorly some films have performed. Deadpool and Wolverine earned, yes, $1.338 billion worldwide, a figure Disney was eager to tout without revealing the true cost of the true cost structure behind the scenes. But Disney never keeps the full box office haul. Yes, typically studios retain 55% of the domestic revenue, 40% internationally, and yeah, somewhere around 25 to 30% out of China, which I don't really know, like, how much. Okay, yeah, so Deadpool and Wolverine made $59.7 million in China, taking home somewhere around, $15 million at the box office. But breaking down the rest of the numbers, okay, you're international, you're non-international, domestic, crunch the numbers as fairly as possible. You come out with Disney taking home $621.7 million. So depending on the marketing spend, as it sits right now, on a $1.3 billion box office, they walked away with less than $100 million, which is still, a fair chunk of change. But do you spend $500+ million in order to make $100 million? Yeah, I don't think so, man. And so these numbers raise a very interesting question, because I said it at the beginning, okay, Rise of Skywalker still has the highest production budget spend, north of $600 million, as got confirmed at the end of October, beginning of November. Can't quite recall. But yes, those numbers are out there. And then now you have Deadpool and Wolverine coming in, I'm pretty sure right there at the second spot. But what does this mean for the future? Well, you take a look at what's coming in the very near future, and well, the billion-dollar global run should be a slam dunk victory for Marvel. Instead, Disney's own filings, brought to light by Slate and Reed, suggest that Deadpool and Wolverine generated only a sliver of the profit people assume it did due to its high cost. And then you got a picture there. You got a picture there from a chair stream that happened earlier this year, and well, it really does beg the question. Avengers Doomsday. there's a good chance. I would say it's probably going to make $1 billion just because of sheer curiosity. Robert Downey Jr.'s back, and because Deadpool and Wolverine was marketed on all of those old Fox cameo key jangles. Avengers Doomsday is going to be running back the old X-Men as well as everybody who's ever been in a Marvel film. So yes, off of that sheer curiosity, it's going to have a big opening weekend. Is it going to get to $1 billion? Yeah, goddamn well better hope so, because looking at Deadpool and Wolverine spend for the nominal fees that they're throwing out to veritable C-list Fox superheroes, compare and contrast that with the lineup for Doomsday, and well, we're probably looking at the most expensive film of all time. I don't think that is out of the realm of possibility, because even at the beginning of this year, okay, Disney reveals spending on Avengers Doomsday, and yeah, we already know that RDJ is taking home, I think it's for both of the movies, okay, for Doomsday and for Secret Wars, he's taking home a fat stack of 100 bills, okay? The Russo brothers aren't coming cheap as well, and that's, yeah, again, that doesn't factor in any back-end deals or anything like that, and yeah, you run down the list of characters that are going to be in this film: Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, even though it hasn't been announced yet, but we know it's happening. All of the Fantastic Four, the vast majority of the old X-Men characters, and Simu Liu, like, he's not going to come cheap. Yes, even at the most recent update, before, like, filming even started to take place, Disney has revealed its upcoming Avengers Doomsday movie has already cost more than double the sum it spent on 2023's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, when it was at a similar stage of production. For most movies, this feat would be far from a triumph, but it's a different story with Doomsday, as it shows that Disney is throwing its weight behind it. Yes, just over a year ago, when Marvel Studios division was staring into the abyss, the studio that once could do no wrong had released a string of box office bombs that was which set up the next phase of its interconnected cinematic universe of superhero movies. It raised the question of whether audiences were finally tiring of the highest-grossing film franchise in history in true superhero style. They came from the most unexpected places. But yes, 2026 is going to be very interesting, because we are at least a little bit removed from all of that box office pocket watching. I think the last great example is something we're probably going to have to talk about in the very near future with Predator Badlands. Oh my god, look at that record-breaking opening weekend, and yeah, how quickly did it descend into a 6-digit day at the box office? Oh yeah, a record-breaking time, and now all of those shills, awfully quiet about that right now. But yes, 2026 is going to be a doozy on the DC side, and especially on the MCU side, because you're going to have Sony's Spider-Man first out the gate, and well, there's a conversation to be had whether or not Spider-Man is going to be able to outgross Avengers, and that might have seemed a couple years back like that would be just a completely erroneous premise, but I mean, Spider-Man is still going to be hot. The Avengers is going to be a dumpster fire, so I guess it's hot in a different sense. But there's also conversations to be had whether or not Spider-Man is going to be more profitable than the Avengers, because if these costs keep on ticking upwards, and this even back in March when it was reported that, yeah, Doomsday at this point in time has spent more than double of what Ant-Man had at that point in time in its development. And what did we learn about that Ant-Man budget? All right, they lied about that as well. And so there's going to be some very interesting accounting happening in the very near future. And as this is, like, Avengers Doomsday obviously is the last grasp attempt for Marvel to regain some sort of pop culture foothold. You know that the pocket watching is going to be intense, and you know that Disney is going to be desperate to make it look like it's just an unmitigated success. It made over $1 billion. What do you mean it's a flop? Can't wait to have these conversations. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.